Hello there, Flip here, and today, how do I, I'm drunk, and with that, someone told me in my server that I should record a video, and I have to make a video on Chiori anyways, so we are going to be making a video on Chiori, why she is kind of meh, and if at any point during the video you're entertained or informed, make sure to drop a like and even consider subscribing, as I talk on various topics regarding Genshin's meta, and I'll try to keep you updated. And with that, first, no, this isn't a crime. The legal age of drinking in the UK is 18. So, it's not illegal, and let's talk about Chiori. So when evaluating Chiori, you have to look at the fact that, I guess I should explain her kit first. Her elemental skill, she'll do a dash, and then after that dash she summons a doll. This doll will do AoE geo damage, and if you have a geo construct in your party, you will summon 2 dolls, and both of these will do AoE geo damage. Right off the bat, that should send out some red flags because it's geo constructs. Geo constructs have a lot of problems, mostly due to the cap and the fact that they can be inconsistent when placing them, which makes them prone to breaking, as all Albedo mains should know if you put his flower 1 meter within radius of a rune guard. Just off of her skill alone, effectively you're looking at an Albedo replacement, and the issue is that if you aren't using her with geo constructs, she is pretty similar, if not just slightly above Albedo in terms of performance. And if you do have geo constructs on your team like Zhongli, or you can even use Albedo himself, then her damage is notably higher than Albedo's. So for all the people who bricked their accounts by pulling Navia, you aren't really looking at an upgrade to your team's overall when pulling Chiori, unless you go for her C1. But nobody cares about constellations when looking at TC, so let's just move on to talk about her burst. So with Chiori's burst, she'll pull out a pair of scissors, and this is kind of disappointing as she's not scissoring with another woman. I mean, men can men scissor? I think, or how do I say this without getting demonetized? I think our rectum is too deep inside for that to work, unfortunately. And pretty much this burst will just do a lot of damage. It's a nuke. But it doesn't do anything else, it just does damage. And when looking at things like that, it's not worth building ER just for this burst. It's kind of something that if it happens in your rotation, like you get the energy for it, then yeah, you're obviously going to use it. But you should just focus on building more crit-oriented stats instead of trying to burst every rotation with it. It also does have quite a cheap energy cost, so if you're using her in mono geo teams, you could actually pretty reasonably burst every 1 or every 1.5 rotations. I don't know what to say now because I need this video to be 8 minutes long so I can get paid for it. But I don't think there's that much else to talk about. She's kind of just slightly better Albedo. I guess we can talk about some things I've heard being said about her. So the first is that people are like, oh my god, she has split scaling, but no, that's not really the case. Her skill and her burst, but basically all her damage, will scale off of her attack and defense. But that's not really split scaling, that's more close to dual scaling. With someone like Albedo, he is split scaling because his elemental skill is entirely scaled off of his defense, where his burst, that is scaled entirely off of his attack. So therefore, when trying to optimize substats for Albedo, you have to look at one facet of his kit and determine whether, you have to determine if that's worth building.
Have you ever had a dream that
Basically, you just build defense on Albedo because his skill is more damage. And then there's also cases like Jinyan where everything in her kit scales off of attack, but her shield scales off of defense for whatever reason. So again, you have to choose which stat you want to prioritize, attack for her damage or defense for her shield, but in Jinyan's case you build neither because she's dogshit. With Chiori's case, there isn't split scaling, it is it's dual scaling because they both scale off of the same stat, and in this case defense scales harder, So building defense is still building damage for both of her abilities anyways. It just makes it so that when you have an attack substat, it's no longer wasted. Same case with a character like Alhaitham. Alhaitham has EM and attack. Wait, does he have? I think Nahida. I know Nahida does. Nahida has attack and EM scaling, but EM scales harder than attack, so you still build EM on her, but then attack substats are also quite valuable. And with Chiori, she also has an interesting mechanic with her talent. If you press the skill button after using her skill, you will switch to the next character in your party roster, which is cringe. I don't get why they made it this way, but this will give her off-field geo damage. It'll give her coordinated attacks, and these do quite a relevant amount of damage. You don't want to do her other effects where if you use if you normal attack, then that gives her just a geo infusion, but no, just don't do this, it's bad. Her damage as a carry isn't that impressive, and it also can get overridden by Bennett, so you can't use Bennett with her. It's just not worth it. I'm actually wondering, am I actually drunk or am I pretending to be drunk because I drank alcohol? It's like, is this just a massive placebo effect? I can't really tell. Also, it's kind of sad that I was just at a party. Everyone went out to go to like a restaurant and eat. Then I said, no, I want to stay home. And then I'm now here recording a video on a gacha mobile game. I don't know where my life is going. So, yeah. And I think, also, no, one thing I need to rant about, so I don't know how I'm going to title this video. I think Chiori is underwhelming just because of the fact that, like, with Linny, you're playing him on mono pyro teams, and he gets more damage bonus if you play him with mono, other pyro teammates, and he's also the main carry, and his numbers are tuned around him being a main carry, and that's valuable. With Nuvolette, you're supposed to play him in teams with other elements, but Nuvolette's numbers are so overtuned that it doesn't really matter at that point, because his best teams are still playing him with Fiorina, with Chevreuse. Again, she is so extremely her number, like her buffing profile is so extremely overtuned that yes, you can just supplement her for VV. With Chiori, even assuming you hit the construct limit, her damage isn't that high even compared to other off-field damage dealers. And then her teams are mostly limited to looking at the Geo characters, which we have Ito, who he sucks. And then we have Noelle, who doesn't create a Geo construct, and then her Fiorina teams are going to be better. And you have other off-field damage dealers for Noelle. And then you have Navia, in which again, Navia doesn't create Geo constructs. Running 3 Geo units over something like a Fiorina, over something like a Bennett, it's just not really worth it. So yes, when you're playing with another Geo construct, she'll be amazing, but what team actually really wants that? And there aren't that many. And it's mostly tied to the fact that Geo kind of just sucks, unless your name is Noelle or Navia. So Chiori is very hot, but she isn't particularly that good. And I'm thinking of what thumbnail and title I should make, because for some reason there are people who think I called Jeonyun bad when I was making fun of the people who called Jeonyun bad because they have TikTok brains and they can't watch a video that's longer than 10 seconds long. And there are still people saying I called Jeonyun bad and then switched up, but I never did. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and tell me your thoughts on Chiori, and then
we'll see everyone on the flip side. See ya.
Bye-bye.